The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Le Mans 24 Hours is brought to you by ESR Esports Network, Fleet Gaming, SimLab, Husingfeld, Simplexity, Acetech, and AMD Ryzen Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the GTR 24H EEWC here from the Le Mans circuit. It is great to be back with you once again. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable race for these first 4 hours, but now we are into the fifth one. It is me, Ewan O'Leary, taking you through the next 5 hours alongside Cam Rodger, and yeah, we're both looking forward to getting stuck in here and seeing what is going on. At the moment, it is Ibrahim Khan leading from Martin Hemmingson. Seawolf overhauling Drillers for now. That gap is about 18 seconds at the moment, and just behind there's about a 2 minute and plus gap. But I don't know what you've seen of the race so far, Cam. However, it has been a very interesting one. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far, and I hope everybody at home has as well. But I must admit, I'm a little bit surprised to see Seawolf able to actually overtake Drillers. Seeing qualifying, I was expecting it to be a bit of a Drillers show at the front of the field, but it's actually a lot different to that.
Yes, hello everyone, and yeah, I haven't followed it too closely because unfortunately I had some family come round, but yes, Seawolf leading the way. I did predict this in the pre-race. I was expecting them maybe to be a little bit better over the full race distance, because as we said, Drillers sometimes make a few mistakes here, but it's only 15 seconds between them at the moment, so I'm sure that gap is going to potentially swing back into Drillers' favour as we get towards this evening.
Yeah, of course, there's still a long way to go, just under now 20 hours to go in this race. At the moment, we've got a bit of a battle between Adam Baldwin and Jimmy Nisula. I believe we're halfway through stops, though, in GTE. Musto are currently leading, but I believe they're yet to make a stop, and they need to make a stop here in the next few moments, and I think they will be. As well as DGTL and WSR, who are World of Sim Racing. Someone could have told me that earlier before I had to reel off their whole acronym every single time, but I didn't realise it was quite World of Sim Racing. There you go. That is currently driven by Blazers Majsk, presumably is Polish or Eastern European driver because of the amount of consonants in that name. But there you go. That's the closest battle going on the circuit, I think, at the moment. Baldwin versus Nisula, and here it is, heading towards the S's and through the S's at the moment, just making their way through a little bit of lap traffic. But it looks like Nisula's just being held up ever so slightly by that McLaren. I'm not actually sure if the McLaren has been in that car for the whole time, but if so, then that's a pretty mammoth stint from him.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm sure we're going to see quite a few drivers actually attempt some pretty crazy stints over the course of the 24 hours, so hopefully they are keeping fresh though and not going too long into their stints, because then obviously they'll start making quite a few mistakes and maybe even cause some accidents.
Yeah, indeed. Adam Baldwin has just been into the pit lane, or 2 laps ago, just got into that car in replacement for someone I can't remember, but I'll find out here in a moment. Jesus had. I believe it was actually, I don't know. I've forgotten, if I'm honest. But yeah, either way, Adam Baldwin just getting into that car a couple of laps ago, and now Jimmy Nisula is right in behind him. Sedlacek was in there a minute ago, the Czech driver, and so he's back in the pit lane himself, but the car's obviously still out there. And those two have just stretched out a bit of a margin at the moment. As I mentioned, we are in the middle of pit stops here at Le Mans. 4th place is this battle, but yeah, an interesting race, and GTE shaping up pretty nicely. We haven't had any race-changing incidents for those GT cars like we have in LMP2, but obviously there's a long way to go still, and a lot of time for things to potentially go wrong, or potentially even work in the favour of some of these teams.
There certainly is plenty of time. Obviously we've We've just got into the next hour, so there's just under 20 hours left, which is quite a long time. So plenty of time for drivers to maybe pick up some time or even lose some time with mistakes. And that is the one thing with 24-hour racing is not just about your speed, it's about how you do that over the course of the 24 hours. Making mistakes here and there can always even lose you the race, not just a position, as obviously we're seeing this battle between the 74 and the 65 get really close now. If Baldwin just makes a mistake pushing too much, then he'll obviously lose this position, which won't be too good for him.
No, it wouldn't really. So we'll see now about these strategies and how they're playing out, because I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work out when all this is said and done. Really, I don't know if they're on the same kind of tyre strategy. I guess we'll find out in the next few hours and get a bit of a better idea about what the strategy is for these guys and at what point they are at. But it's pretty easy to work out in LMP2. The guys are just about halfway through a stint. Michi Hoyer is currently leading ahead of Henry Drury after that incident we saw with Varga and Drillers. Chinzik is now in 4th place, over 30 seconds behind Luca D'Amelio, and Blake Checkitts is now driving the Drillers eSports car, and so he is in 7th place, which is a bit of a shame for him, really. Well, maybe they'll be able to get up later on, but they've lost a lot of time now, and they're going to need a lot of time to get this result back. Unfortunately for them, they have got a lot of time to salvage. Under 20 hours to go, but still 4 hours done, and when you put it into that kind of perspective, it does seem like you have been going for quite a long time. 4 hours is quite a long time, but when you consider it in the context of 24 hours, it really isn't that long at all.
Yeah, there's quite a few sort of leagues out there that do 4-hour endurance racing as well. But then you come to Le Mans 24, and after 4 hours, you're like, well, yeah, we're just getting started, just doing first or second driver swap. But yeah, the keeping yourself fresh and concentrated is always the important thing to do. And Ernest Stapp has just messaged me saying that he lost his rear wing, which is, I assume, why that's Driller's LMP2 is further down, which unfortunately I missed. But that is the type of thing you can't be doing. You can't be losing your rear wing or any sort of major crash like that, because you just lose so much time, A, getting back to the pit lane, and then B, sitting stationary in the pit lane, that you just can't get that back on pure lap speed. You can easily lose 30 seconds in something like that, or even more, but winning 30 seconds on the track is really difficult.
Yeah, it is. Just to give a bit of context to those at home watching who maybe missed that incident, it all started with Musto GD-eSports and Daniele Primavera, who had a pretty big accident on the exit of the second Mulsanne chicane. He dropped it on the traction, had a big incident with the wall, front left wheel comes off. He went into the pit lane and spent 6 minutes in there repairing the damage, or so he thought. It's handed over to Fabio Liuzzi, but the damage hadn't actually fixed. So when he came out into the first chicane, Liuzzi went for a pretty big spin in front of the circuit. One of the McLarens had to slow down and almost come to a dead stop, actually. And then the Pinson Drillers car had to slow down again, but the Varga car that was right behind it didn't quite preempt the slowing down very quickly, because they were absolutely nose to tail at the time. He drilled the back of the Drillers car, I'm afraid, and the rear wing fell off of that LMP2. That's why Blake Checkitts is now down the order just a little bit, and he's having to make a bit of a recovery in this race. Meanwhile, there's a bit of a 3-car battle developing, possibly for 3rd place in the GT3 category, a class that is being currently dominated by Wanako and Chris Shepherd. Obviously, Boyer Milan started that car and he's put his teammates in a great position, but Team Rookie Monsters, Glam Racing and DSR Nightmare are all running pretty close together at the moment.
Yes, GT3 category is rather interesting with the cars being so close together. As you see them coming into this second Mulsanne chicane as well, they're starting to close up quite a lot between these cars. And what is quite nice to see, actually, is that these are 3 different car manufacturers as well. So just showing that it doesn't matter necessarily what car you're in, but we've also got the 650S, the Aston Martin, and also the Callaway Corvette as well. So you see if maybe certain parts of the track, one of those cars is slightly better, although it seems that they're obviously fairly equal overall. And yeah, they're getting quite close now. And this is the sort of position that I personally like to be in as a driver in these endurance races, because I like to see the car ahead of me, because it always gives you that extra bit of motivation. So hopefully the DSR Nightmare car can close up a little bit there on Lee Russell in the 404.
Yeah, it looks like he is doing at the moment 1.7 seconds. It's come down ever so slightly, and now 1.5. It's continuing to just shrink ever so slightly. But don't forget, they're probably on a straight at the moment. Actually, I can't quite see where they are myself. But the Aston Martin is not the strongest car in a straight line. You can see those Corvettes absolutely roar past the Aston Martin on the straights. But everywhere else, the Aston Martin is very good indeed. You know, it's a difficult choice. Actually, I remember Alex and Yusuf were talking to Alexander van der Velde, who was, that's a funny name saying it, it's a bit of a rhyme, but yeah, he was talking to them a little bit earlier on, and he was saying that it's a difficult car to deal with, really, because of the straight line deficit that you've actually got. It's really quite hampering. And it's not good in any way, really. But when you get to the corners, the Aston Martin is very good indeed. That's where you've got to make up your time, but that's also where you've got to try and do the overtaking, and that's when it becomes dangerous, really. When you're having to try and get past cars in the corners rather than on the straights, that's where the accidents can happen. And so that's the disadvantage that they've got, really, running that car.
Yeah, a lot of drivers also choose the car on feel. And not necessarily how the car ultimately performs, because to be fair, the latest BOP that was done about a month ago now is actually fairly decent in terms of pace. So they've done pretty well with that. So a lot of the drivers like to have a car that maybe either they just prefer from the looks or the feel or the cockpit or something like that. But as you say, a car such as the Aston that may be a little bit further down, that can be hindered in a battle situation. Even if the overall lap speed is fairly similar, if they can fly past you on the straight and then you can't do anything to come back, then that is quite hard to defend against.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and you can lose a lot of time just getting stuck behind different cars, and so it wasn't the most popular of choices, the Aston Martin, although two teams did pick it. The ID SimSport, both of those ID SimSport, oh sorry, that's, I'm looking at GTE, I should probably look at GT3, and they are the only Aston Martin team are Glam Racing, which is probably says it all, really, especially at a track like Le Mans where there are so many straights. You maybe don't want to be driving with it, but as I mentioned, Alexander van der Velde managed to start that car off pretty well, battling for a podium for much of this race. Callum Wilson will be driving a little bit later on. Lee Russell is in that car at the moment, with Henrik Hoyer as well going to be getting into that car at some point along the line. But yeah, currently in a bit of a battle for third position it is, if you count Rookie Monsters within it. But yeah, Glam Racing are starting to look over their shoulder, really, because DSR Nightmare, the 777, looking on the back of them at the moment. They've got a big gap behind them, so clearly the top five are a lot quicker than the rest, and clearly Monaco are a lot quicker than the GT3s. They're actually challenging the GTEs in this race. If they were a GTE car, then they would be 6th place, which is quite a remarkable statistic, really.
Yeah, that is quite good for them, obviously. We have seen back in Sebring especially, the GT3s were very close on pace. It does depend on the type of track. Obviously, overall, sort of over every track on the calendar in the world, the GTs are obviously slightly quicker, but the GT3s can be quite competitive, and it's good to see that. It's good to see, to be honest, a GT3 team excelling like that. Obviously, Monaco, they are a really, really good team. That car, or that team in general, all the drivers are so good. It would be good to see them maybe in the hypercar class in the future, but at least for now, it's good to see, obviously, one of the top names in our Factor 2 coming and getting involved with GTR 24H.
Yeah, we've had a lot of new entries for this race, and it's been great to see. Fortunately, we still have 42 of the 43 entries out there at the moment. Ferris Stanley looks to be a retirement now. He's 19 laps down on the car in front, 35 laps down overall. That looks like a retirement, an engine failure in an LMP2. We've said that before. It's quite a common occurrence, really, in LMP2. You can do it by punishing the engine just a little bit too much. As now into the Porsche curves, we can see Clown Racing and DSR Nightmare look to fight it out. Look at the speed of that Corvette on the entry to the corner, side by side, and then you can see the Aston Martin with its corner and grip just fight back as they go side by side. The Aston has the inside line, holds on to the position with two LMP2 cars in behind as well.
And those LMP2s breaking up battle a little bit as well, but that's all how traffic works. And that is the Ricky Monsters and ID Simsport coming past as we come up to the final part of the lap here. That is the places that you don't really want to get as the slower class. You don't really want to get the fast cars getting in your way, because that can really ruin your battle and put a couple of seconds between you very easily, especially in the higher speed stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I just saw a hypercar going into the pit lane in the background. We'll just check that it's not one of the top two at the moment. It isn't. Seawolf and Drillers Esports both still out there, I believe, unless I missed them. Oh, it is Seawolf. Yeah, so I cursed myself almost there. So yeah, Seawolf are in. I did notice earlier on that Drillers were doing longer stints than Seawolf. They'd managed 19 laps in their first two stints, and my maths is not quite good enough to work out when that means their pit stops are supposed to be. Maybe 76, but I couldn't be sure. So we'll find out a little bit later on, but I think lap 76 is going to be their next pit stop, and that means they're going to be saving one or two pit stops in this race compared to the car of Drillers. So that is interesting. That's going to save them an awful lot of time throughout the race.
Yeah, saving laps is always something that's quite interesting at Le Mans. As we mentioned in the pre-show, one of the easiest ways of doing that is simply by running less fuel mixture. However, by running less fuel mixture, you lose time all the way down the straight, so you basically have to drive flat out the whole time. So a more efficient way is obviously using the highest engine mixture, and then doing lift and coast, and maybe saving in slipstream of traffic and things like that, and being kind of smart. So saving is always quite interesting, but if you can save those extra laps, that is really important, because it rolls on as the race goes on. So obviously if you save 1 or 2 laps a stint, after 5 stints, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 laps, which is a lot of saving overall.
Yeah, absolutely. So in GT3, it's still going on, this battle at the moment, looking to see if the Corvette can get through, and it has done now actually on the Aston Martin into the second chicane. No chance for the British car to come back at it though through the next corner, you wouldn't imagine, because it's a long straight, and even with the slipstream, get absolutely nowhere with that Glam Racing Aston at the moment, as one of the Sennas just goes flying through, not even affecting them in any way. I believe that's the race leader actually of Ibrahim Khan, just making his way through. As now through the Mulsanne corner they go, and now onto another straight here at Le Mans. But yeah, we've got a battle as well in GTE between Purby and ID Simsport, the number 177 are battling. So there's battles kind of going on all over the place at the moment. There's just these little pairs of cars which are kind of battling, and this is the kind of thing you get at this stage of the race. The leaders are spreading out just a little bit, working on their strategies. They converge at the end, but you've got these little two-car duels going on up and down the field, really, to watch. Yeah,
we often see that in endurance races, actually. You get, for some reason, these little groups of 2 or 3 cars, they seem to stay relatively close, and then obviously those individual groups spread out. It's quite interesting how that works, actually. Now, that obviously works its way through the race. And then obviously teams go, yo-yo a little bit when they start making pit stops, and different timed pit stops and things like that. But I'm sure all these things sort of come to a head as we get towards the final couple of hours. But there's plenty of racing before that. The drivers need to be getting themselves comfortable with the car, getting the number of their drivers having stints at the early point in the race to get a feel for what it's like. And then they will see how that works out. But yeah, good to see those guys having a little bit of a battle, even though they're a little bit further down the grid. It obviously keeps the concentration going.
Yeah, it does, of course, but we haven't seen all of the drivers out there just yet. We're about 4.5 hours, or 4.25 hours in now, so no way that everybody's been able to get in the car. I saw Mantis Wreckers in the YouTube chat a minute ago, puffing out his cheeks, really, because he's just done 4 hours of driving for his team's LMP2 car. Got himself up to second at best, and he still is second now, or that car is anyway. Henry Drury is now driving it, but he said it wasn't easy, and I'm sure it wasn't. If there are any drivers, by the way, who are getting out of the car and would like an interview, then you can put yourself in the green room, and we will have a bit of a chat, because we'd like to hear how things are going out there. Always interesting to hear from these guys what's actually happening and going on out there. So if you are a driver getting out of the car, then you can put yourself in there, and we'll have a bit of a chat. It'd be good to hear from everyone who's just got out of the car.
It's always good to get a chat with them, get a feel for what it's like out there. And obviously we have quite a few. Well, I say quite a few. Pretty much everyone's still going. Only that Ferris Stanley HM Engineering car has unfortunately actually DNF'd from what I can see. So that's looking pretty good so far. So it's always good when you have a load of green flag racing, and if any of the drivers want to come and give their insights, that'd be really insightful for all of us, and obviously the viewers as well. As I see a couple of more drivers come into the pit lane. We've got Rodger coming in now, as well as the Musto GT3 car, also coming in the pit lane with Fabio Liuzzi.
Yeah, he is indeed, and they've had not the best day of things, I have to say. They've been struggling here today, so they're out and into the pit lane again. They're going to get overtaken by B32, you would imagine, while they're making that stop, and so well, it's unfortunate, but it's all part of the strategy, which is all unfolding. I believe that in 3 laps time, or 3 laps next past the line, Martin Hemmingson is going to be into the pit lane after another 19 lap stint. Ibrahim Khan is not quite going for that. He's going for a different strategy entirely. I didn't quite note down what lap he came in on, but he's definitely making shorter stints than the driller's car is, and that will play out a little bit later on. We've also talked a lot about tyre strategy, particularly in LMP2. Drivers maybe double stinting or triple stinting the tyres, and even a quad stint was attempted. I can't remember, I think it was by satellite. Quad stint was attempted, that unfortunately didn't work out. But yeah, it is interesting in LMP2 because the stints on fuel are so short. You can actually get quite a lot out of your tyres. You can do double, triple, and even attempt a quadruple stint.
Yeah, that is what makes that LMP2 car quite extra interesting. Is the strategies that you can go and do with it are quite remarkable. Obviously, in terms of raw pace, it's generally better to change every stint, but obviously you have to look at what you're going to be what you're doing on the overall time for your stint, because if you don't lose the time, then you might as well keep on going.
Yeah, exactly. But meanwhile, the Burst Edge Esport car of Michi Hoyer has been into the pit lane. That's another 10-lap stint for those guys. Their 7th of the day, and now their 7th pit stop as well. To boot, Luca D'Amelio has also been in for IDOS, but Hoyer is back out there again, and I think he is staying on those tyres to go for a double stint, and I'm pretty sure he is actually. So Pedersen did the first 3 sets of tyres and first 6 stints of this race. Now Hoyer is going to be doing at least 2, not entirely sure how long he's going to go for, but 6 stints, 6 fuel stints at least, seems to be the way to go with this one, and that's really how you can get up to, I wonder how long that would be actually, roughly 3 hours I would say, as a pure guess, about 3 hours, which is a comfortable amount of time to be driving really. I wouldn't want to be doing it, but these guys are very good indeed, and so 3 hours seems to be the kind of optimum stint length in terms of how long you want to be in the car without swapping too much, but also not getting too tired as well.
Yeah, this is it's something you should get R-Factor to get racing, because it is quite something having to do. I think the most I've ever done is about 3.5-4 hours in a row, but that is, that's quite something. Even doing a 2-hour stint is quite quite incredible. I think it's something you should really try. All to the viewers, if you haven't actually driven R-Factor yourself, obviously you can get it on Steam. And this, the cars that we are using and the track is DLC content. However, they are obviously widely used and very good content as well. So if you want to get involved in, feel free to check that out on Steam. But yeah, it's certainly something that some of these drivers will have got used to a little bit. Obviously, a number of these drivers have done many races here at GTR and also other leagues and organisations, so they will get used to it a little bit, but that still doesn't change the fact that if you're sitting in that cockpit for 3-4 hours, then that is going to start to hurt your back a little bit, but also like your arms with the force feedback on the wheel, and obviously like the stress and adrenaline of racing is quite a lot.
Yeah, it is. I have to say the maximum I've ever done, not on R-Factor 2 obviously, but the maximum I've ever done is only a 2-hour stint, and that is pretty difficult. But that was back in my driving days where I used to do quite a lot of it. Now I do next to no driving, if I'm honest. I can't remember the last time I wheeled the wheel out and decided to have a go. But yeah, it's certainly a lot to manage, and it's certainly a very interesting challenge. We love watching it up here, and those drivers are enjoying themselves, I'd imagine, as well, down on the circuit. And why wouldn't you really? We've still got 42 cars lapping out there on the circuit. It's absolutely fantastic to see. More than double what we've had for the rest of the season. It's been an absolutely great entry. Some massive names have decided to join. If you just look at just the leaders in every class at the moment, you've got Drillers eSports, Rookie Monsters, and Musto GD-eSports and Monaco. For starters, that is 4 great teams, and then you go even deeper further down the order, then you get to some great names as well. But I think Henry Drury's having a bit of a problem here because, or has he just been into the pit lane? I'm not entirely sure.
The pit lane as we speak. Michi Hoyer is going straight past and will be retaking that position lead in LMP2. Obviously Henry Drury will be going in just a few seconds, so this gap is still going to be fairly healthy for Hoyer, as obviously they're coming around the next round of pit stops.
Yeah, so in Hypercar at the moment, we've got Martin Henningsen leading the race for Drillers eSports. Now, he's swapped into that car in place of Henry Sinnick, who did start that car, doing the first 2 or 3 stints. Ibrahim Khan, however, has been in that car, the Seawolf Netrace car, should I say, since the start of the race. Bobby Trundley is also on his 5th stint now, I do believe. I've just been informed in the chat. I'm presuming he'll be getting out of the car after this now, because that is 4.5 hours. That is an awful long time in that car, and you've got to commend him for that. And I know that you've had a bit of a personal run-in with him as well in the past, Cam.
Well, yeah, we used to do a bit of karting together back in the day, as they say. This was years ago, like, I don't know, 7-8 years ago now. When obviously we were little kids. And Bobby, very, very good driver, always quicker than me, and he was. But that's the thing, he was always driving. Like any weekend or any event that I went to, he was always there. So he is also quite good, I guess, with endurance and doing lots of driving. So maybe that's one reason why he's going on to his 5th stint here, which is an hour in the sim is arguably easier than an hour in real life as well. I mean, factually it is. So obviously going for 4 or 5 hours in the sim is a little bit easier, but still that is quite something from him.
Yeah, certainly physically it is. Now we're on another half hour here. We're going to take a commercial break in a second, and when we come back we're going to have some interviews. Ernest Lapins of Drillers eSports and Mantus Rekus of Team Rookie Monsters are going to be joining us here in the broadcast studio to have a chat about their race so far. But you're currently watching the GTR 24H EEWC finale from Le Mans, and we're going to take a commercial break now, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship Le Mans 24 Hours is brought to you by ESR eSports Network. Fleet Gaming, SimLab, Fusingfeld, Simplexity, Acetech, and AMD Ryzen Radio.
Simplexity is a Danish designer and manufacturer of high-grade sim racing platforms. Their 3 different levels of platforms come in a variety of colors and configurations. Choose from the V4, built from 40 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles, the V8 built from 80 by 40mm profiles, and the high-tier V12 built from 160 by 40mm extruded aluminium profiles. Prices range from 470 to 750 euros. Go to facebook.com/simplexity.eu and start a messenger chat to inquire more about the options for colors and customization.
eSports? Do you hate watching laggy streams of tournaments on 13-inch screens? Oh my god! Of course you do. But you don't have to worry about that anymore. He has a gun, son!
Welcome back to the GTR 24H EEWC here from Le Mans. We are about 19 hours and a half from the end of this race. We've still got an awfully long way to go. So while we are in the booth here, me, Ewan and Leary alongside Cam Rodger, we're now joined by Ernest Lappins of the Drillers eSports LMP2 squad. Now, I can't quite remember if you were driving at the time of the incident that befell your car. You had a bit of a run-in with multiple cars, actually. It's a bit of a 4-car incident in some ways. Yeah, just describe to us what happened really from your guys' perspective and what the feeling in the team is after that accident.
Well, thing is, well, I just saw a car spinning in front of me and I was like, please, no, not now. I had just done 3 hours or so. 3 hours or so, and it was my final lap before I could stop, and I was going to swap to Blake, and yes, the car spun in front of me and I hit the brakes, but it wasn't enough, as I guess the guy behind me didn't see anything, as he had like not the great angle, and you couldn't really see what was going on in front of him. Well, obviously could have avoided it, but I won't judge him for it. You know, it is what it is, but the team is ready to come back and try to get a podium. You know, anything can happen with 20 hours to go.
Yeah, exactly. It all happened very fast in the end, and it's difficult to avoid these things. You said you can still get a podium. Is that the realistic aim that you can actually manage here, or is it a bit of a? Are you hoping really that things go wrong for those in front? Because as you mentioned, there's a long race, and lots can go wrong. But there is a big margin now between you and a podium.
I think it's. Let me actually check how much it is. I think it's not actually that much. It's only like a minute or so, which is Actually, no, it's more than that, isn't it? But still, anything can happen. Nobody will finish this race without any issues. We just happen to have ours a bit earlier on in the race, and I think we could catch them if nothing goes wrong, because we have a strong squad. Right now, we got two of our weakest drivers out of the way, which is me and Blake, and then Boyan and James and Jamie will probably catch them. But you know,
I suppose it's better to have your issues early on, so you've got time to make up the advantage, I guess. But you said Blake is in the car at the moment. Who's going to be getting in the car next, and when is Blake getting out, or is that too much information to be giving away?
Honestly, I don't even know myself. We haven't really written up a stint plan. We're kind of just winging it. Same way for strategy, because at first the guys like James just told me, "Oh yeah, we should do a triple stint minimum," and I was like, "If you say so." And I had nobody else in the team speak, and I just went for a triple stint. And I probably would have went for the quad if I didn't see people also doing just double stints. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know why people like do the double stint. I guess at the end it was pretty much 50-50. It was say like around the same pace. Yes.
Sorry. So are you guys now on the triple stint for the whole race, or have you reverted to a double stint now that you've seen everybody around you going for that double?
It just depends on the driver, I guess. I might go back to triple stints, but whatever they want, they can do. We were just relying on a server crash that would put us all on the same grid, or rain, which is the two things that could save us, or cars in front of us crashing. But I don't really wish that type of things on anyone. So two things that could happen is rain and a server crash, which is probably going to come. Let's be real. So I'm not too worried as long as we stay on the same lap.
It's always possible, and you are still on the same lap. So Ernest, thanks very much for talking to us, and good luck for the rest of the race. Still a long way to go, as you mentioned.
Yeah, well, see you, man.
There we go, that was Ernest Lappins of Drillers Esports, and still very, very positive actually on his outlook of the race, despite the issues that they've actually had.
Yeah, it's quite good that they're staying positive. As we mentioned, there's still 19 and a half hours to go, so there's plenty of time for them to get something at least back. So they might as well try. Might as well see what is going to happen. They've only got about 4 seconds to the car ahead, although I'm not sure how that is with the round of pit stops, but they're not too far off. They're not too far off. They still do have about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to the podium, but if they do nice clean races, nice clean stints over the next 12 hours or so, as we get to the last quarter of the race, they might be still in contention.
Yeah, quite possibly. You never know. Long way to go, as we keep repeating throughout this broadcast. Now we're joined by another driver here for another bit of an interview. Mantis Rekas of the Team Rookie Monsters team now in LMP2, of course. How are things down there in that camp? Obviously, you've got quite a few cars running in the race at the moment. Your car is in third and bearing down on second. So how are things at Team Rookie Monsters?
Well, considering I was 41st on the grid, to be third and bearing down on second is absolutely brilliant. So all in all, things are going quite well. We avoided a few accidents which our rivals didn't, and I hope that we just keep our consistent pace rolling and we'll see the finish.
Yeah, of course, getting to the end is the most important thing, really. Who are your main rivals in this race, then? Because Burst Edge Esports are a long way up the road now. Can you catch them? Are they realistic rivals for you in this race or not?
To be honest, Burst is something you're looking at and you're dreaming of wanting to be there, because on a good lap, I can chip out a few tenths. The next lap, 2 seconds back in my face, and I'm just sat there, well, I can't do anything about it, and that's just the reality, really, of that lineup. I don't think anyone can match them with their overall lineup, so quite upset with that. But talking about other competitors, well, we had the Eidos car under control, but now because of a one unplanned penalty we're now behind them, but we can get back at them, and I think that a second place is the most realistic thing if things are going the way they are right now.
Yeah, of course, you've just got out of the car not too long ago now, and yeah, I saw you in the YouTube chat saying what a hard stint that was. Just describe to people at home what it is to drive for 4 hours, more than 4 hours, at Le Mans in the LMP2 category. It is quite draining.
It definitely is quite draining, but at the same time, you almost become an AI. Like 2.5 hours in, you're programmed, you turn in, and it's as if you're in the car. It's as if you're feeling it, and it's a really satisfying feeling. But then the tiredness hits with a few laps to go when you're like, okay, I'm gonna pit within the next few laps, and and then it hits, and then you realize you've been driving for over 4 hours, you're sweaty in your office chair in my case, and well, yeah, it's quite special, and you feel quite accomplished when you get out of the car and you're like, okay, I did quite good actually.
Yeah, it was a very good drive from you, and you've put your teammates in a great position. So, Mantis, big thanks for coming to talk to us, and good luck in your future stints and for the rest of the race with that car.
Alright, thank you, cheers.
There we go, Rookie Monsters in a great position at the moment, actually, battling it out with Ardos Motorsport. But as he mentioned, there, Mantis Racket, I think that I'd have to agree with him. It's going to take a lot for anybody to touch Burst Edge eSports in this race.
Yeah, Burst Edge eSports they're just so good, basically, and their car lineup is absolutely stacked as well. They've got 5 drivers in there, I believe, and they're all top artifacts to
015, enter the pits now.
Who is being called? Who is that? Oh, Will Dendy, Simply Race. He's lagging all over the place. That is why he has been asked to come into pit lane. Currently in 29th, but yeah, he is coming in. So good to see that he's abided by that, by the call from race control. But yeah, Mitchie Hoy in that Burst Edge eSports car at the moment, he is obviously doing pretty well, but it's not just him, it is his teammates that is what really makes that special, because they've got Pedersen, Hoyer, Simoncic, Siebel and Jordan all in that car.
Yeah, it's insane the amount of talent that is in that lineup. I would say that Varga and Drillers were the only teams that could really challenge them, but they ended up detonating themselves, really, and it's meant that they are a long way back now. So they've got a lot of work to do in this race. But I'm glad to report, actually, that we do have another interview here. We're now joined by Max Spooner of the E-Team Brit Hypercar team, currently running in 3rd place with Bobby Trundley still trundling along in that place. How is he feeling? I better give him the power to talk here. Hang on. Yeah, let's let him talk. And there we go. Bobby Trundley now is in 3rd place. He's just doing his own thing really out there at the moment. What's he saying from the car at the moment, and how is he feeling?
Oh, he's doing his usual, complaining about everything, but other than that, everything's hunky-dory. I think we've got him in for now till, I think, 3 in the morning, and then somebody else might have a go. I don't know, but he's doing all right, so we'll keep using him till he breaks.
Well, yeah, he's not doing anything wrong at the moment. Just talk us through what your aims are in this race now, because you've got those 2 cars of Seawolf and Drillers up in front of you. They're 3 minutes ahead as it stands at the moment. You've got David Yunt about a minute and a bit behind. What is a realistic aim for you guys in this race?
In all honesty, we didn't really know what to expect coming into this race. We signed up at the start of the year, and unfortunately we weren't able to commit to the rounds, but we wanted to make a concerted effort to make it to the final one. So it was really just I guess you could say an exploratory race for us to see where we end up. Currently with P3. I think really we're trying to maximise Bobby as much as we can in the car to try and cement that position for us. I think we would probably need a bit of bad luck from the cars ahead of us to really be fighting for the top 2 places. But yeah, it's just sort of just see what happens, really. I don't think we've got any expectations from the event. We're just here to have fun and hopefully bag a good result in the process.
Yeah, absolutely, on the podium at the moment, so it's not a bad outing so far. When are you going to be getting in the car then? We know that Trundley's in there for ages, or when he breaks, as you said. So when are you going to get into the car?
So I'm due in the car probably close on to 11 o'clock midnight. So I'll be doing a few hours in then. And yeah, really just sort of play the race as it comes to us, really. So, but we've got all the team here; they're all super pumped for it. And yeah, we'll just, as I say, just try and keep it clean, keep it consistent, try not to get into any scraps, and hopefully bag a good result in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in a good place to do that at the moment. So yeah, well done on the first 5 hours, I guess, of or nearly 5 hours of this race. Good luck for the next 19. Obviously, it's still a long way to go, but yeah, hope it goes well for you guys.
Thank you very much.
And there we go, Max Spooner of the E-Team Brit Hypercar team. Yeah, good to get some views from those who are actually driving and participating in this race. If you would like an interview, by the way, you can put yourself in the green room on the GTR 24H TeamSpeak and we'll drag you up for a quick chat. But yeah, kind of doing their own thing out there at the moment, are E-Team Brit.
And they certainly are in a decent position there in third place. Obviously, getting a podium will be some prizes as well, I believe. So, obviously, that's going to be looking good for them if they can get to the end of the race. But just in the background, as we were having that interview, Paul Holt, Fair Racing team, got past Michaela Molle in the number 90 Musto GD-eSports LMP2 as well for 9th place in class. So yeah, some positions still being made, and even in one lap, Paul Holt has put many seconds on Michaela Moll. So yeah, quite interesting for those guys. Well, we're obviously keeping an eye on this battle for P3 in the GTE category. Adam Baldwin is trying to obviously do what he can to keep away from Nisula, but also just ahead of them they've got the number 51 car as well, so it's turning into this three-way battle and it's getting quite tense with some lap traffic in the way as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars involved here, 3 of them, of course, and yeah, it's getting very interesting now for second place in the GTE category. I'm going to try and see what is going on with it, and see maybe if Adam Baldwin can get through, because it looks like the World of Sim Racing car has just lost quite a lot of time. Not entirely sure why, whether they made a mistake on the last lap, must have been, or something, because I did see yellow flags in Sector 3 at one point, but it now seems that Adam Baldwin is absolutely right behind Blige Mesk. I've tried to not butcher that name as much as possible, but it's impossible really. But anyway, it's World of Sim Racing versus Juice's Motorsport Club and Satellite Racing. They're all in arrears to Musto GD-eSports though, who have surprised me, I have to say.
Obviously, Musto starting near the back. We obviously tipped him to get to the front, but for now, Baldwin is going to go to the outside into the kink before Indianapolis. This is not where you want to go side by side. The time is saying he's already just got ahead. Can he keep this ahead as he comes to the slight braking zone for these GTE cars? Yes, he can, around the outside. And that is the position done. Second place for Juices. So that is looking really good. And now Myshek has got to look in his rearview mirrors again as Nisula is coming up behind. So I don't think this battle is over, and any one of these 3 teams could be second place by the end of the next stint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking not so good for World of Sim Racing at the moment. They're just losing a bit of time in a few places, but all is not lost, of course. Long way to go. But I did notice that these 2 cars were battling through Indianapolis in a very similar vein to what we just saw there with Juices and World of Sim Racing. They were battling exactly like that through those corners. Obviously, there were different drivers in the car at the time. It was Polesny versus Berengauer, of the 51 team, and those two were fighting really hard. Now, it was in the first hour of the race I was thinking, why on earth would you fight that hard this early on in a race? But obviously positions are very important to these guys at the moment. It's more of a sprint race at the moment, 24-hour racing, as two pit stops come in now. It's Maisk, and it's in the background the other Dimi Nasula, who started that car. I believe he might still be in that car from the start. I can't quite remember if he's pitted for a driver change or not, but there you go. He's into the pit lane now, and maybe even getting out of that car.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that makes a change. Obviously, normally you can sort of see in the spectator list on the server who is going to be changing, but there's quite a few drivers, so we will have to see. He's number 51, isn't he? So there is a 51 of Jose Berenguer, who is also in the pit lane, so maybe we'll see if he's going to jump in. So there might be some driver stops here for them at least, but I don't see anyone for the number 65. So I think this could be a pit stop for World of Sim Racing, but we'll see how that one turns out, as Rick Van L also leaves the pit lane for ground effect in the GTE category. Obviously not necessarily having the best day in the world down there in 10th place and last in the GTE category, but yes, for these guys it seems like 51, yep, he's carrying on, and so does Nasula, so they both stay in the car and they will go around for another stint.
Looks like they're going to continue on with their battle then, and that is great to see, as Roy de Munich now is close onto the back of someone whose name escapes me at the moment. I've forgotten. Marco Slanzi is the driver for Drive Seat Gaming. 4th place is this battle, and Roy de Munich has finally woken up, ladies and gentlemen. That is a good thing, because he was asleep earlier on. That's why Mathieu de Crop started that car, but now de Munich, oh, that was a bit of a aggressive weave down to the right hand side to get the inside line, but he definitely looks faster than the driver in behind him now as he gets that position. 4th place for Roy de Munich, and that's a great recovery for one move, because earlier on in that race, on in this race, Mathieu de Crop had dropped that car all the way down to 12th place after a spin at the Mulsanne the Mulsanne hairpin, the corner. He had a big spin down outside of the points. It was pretty much a disaster for them, but now he's back up to 4th place, and it's been a great recovery from them.
Yeah, that is very good. We obviously mentioned pre-race, these guys are so quick, they're just generally a little bit inconsistent and have some connection issues every now and again as well. So hopefully they can continue towards that podium fight. However, they are quite a way behind that at the moment in time. But yeah, they are looking pretty good now. Obviously getting past that drive game seat entry. So yeah, looking good for them for now. But got to see what they can do. Quite a big gap in front of them though, so maybe they're going to stay there for just a little bit. It is 1 minute and 12 seconds for them currently to make up a position.
Yeah, it's a long way, and there are some bigger time gaps getting out there at the moment, which means it's slightly skewing things a little bit sometimes. But more pit stops coming in. Paul Holt is in for the Fair Racing team, and it's getting towards the moment where the LMP2s do indeed come in. Lap 78 they're completing at the moment. Mitchell Hoyer coming up to around about a third of the way around, and so there may be a pit stop coming up shortly on lap 80. He will be in for a new set of tyres, and he'll be probably quite glad about that, to get some new tyres on. But yeah, it's been a good race so far, a good race for those guys as well, actually, for Burst eSport. Way out front at the moment. 1 minute 5 is the gap as it stands to Eidos Motorsport, driven by Luca D'Amelio. He's trying to hold off Henry Drury at the moment. 3 and a bit seconds separate Eidos and Team Rookie Monsters. I'll be interested to find out actually how Rookie Monsters have ended up behind Eidos, because they were ahead going into that pit stop cycle, but now they're behind for some reason. I don't quite understand why.
It could be to do with tyres. So obviously if you take tyres there'll be a slightly longer pit stop, so that could have a role, and obviously that's something that we've been mentioning. all the way through this is tyre strategies in that LMP2 seem to be the most relevant and the most differentiating between some of the teams. So that could be part of the reason. But yeah, Drury is getting pretty close now to D'Amelio, so D'Amelio needs to certainly start looking in his mirrors.
Yeah, definitely, and he will be doing at some point in this stint, that's for sure. Adam Baldwin is into the pit lane now from Juices. Now, where will he come out in relation to World of Sim Racing and Satellite Racing? We have had confirmation, by the way, from Nick Newcomb, who is backstage at Deuces Motorsport Club. He's saying that Jimmy Nisula has been in that car since the race start, so he's going to be verging on 6 hours in that car once he's actually finished with his stint. But he is the fastest driver in that car, so how will he do when he gets out of it? That is that's the main concern they've got at the moment. Although I have seen Tom Capusta actually driving that car earlier on, so maybe they have made a driver swap. But either way, Ian Pfeiffer and Liam Rance are partnering Jimmy Nisula along with Tom Capusta, who was in that car earlier on. However, Nisula is undoubtedly the fastest of them, so how will they do when he gets out? That's the main concern that they've got at the moment.
Yeah, certainly is, as Chinchik's coming out for his pit stop, as well as AC Sim Motorsports, Calvin Reinhardt also in, so another set of pit stops coming for a couple of drivers as we're getting to that time where it's another hour has gone past. So I think it's time to take a quick commercial break, and after the next couple of minutes we'll be back to take you into the next hour of racing here at Le Mans.